is the community of Lomo in the central Nakanai area of West New Britain province, welcoming officers from the Oil Palm Industry Corporation or OPIC. Upon the request of the community, the officers arrived to officially open a newly constructed road. It has been years of carrying heavy bunches of fresh fruit oil palm through swamps in order to get to the nearest buying point. This is one of the many roads built through funding provided by the National Planning through the Palm Oil Smallholder Access Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Program. The program started in 2018.
In oil palm, road is a very, very important infrastructure because the fruits that are harvested by the farmers and sold are heavy in nature. For the last 20 to 30 years, there were roads that were abandoned because of culvert was out, bridge was out, or waterways creating new pathways or craters and making it impossible for fruit trucks to pick up crop for delivery to the mills. And so it was a challenge. The money came in, and so I had to start identifying those roads.
Kepson Pupita is the current General Secretary for Oil Palm Industry Corporation. An accountant by profession, he was the financial controller for OPIC before acting on the position in December of 2019. Despite having plans to increase oil palm yields in the 5 project areas, they were faced with 20 years of road and infrastructure deterioration. The 5 project areas are 2 in West New Britain province, 1 each in Milne Bay, Northern and New Ireland provinces. Because of the deteriorating road conditions and infrastructure, many farmers abandoned their blocks and paid little to no interest at all. Extension officers could not even reach some blocks. Today, through this PIP funding, 44 roads have since been constructed and all under budget.
So in 2018, 2022, under the EMTV program through PIP funding, OPIC was allocated at the budget of 65 million to do 200 kilometers of roads. But in 4 years, I received 27 million, did 44 roads, and delivered 229.12 kilometers. That's even less than half of the budget appropriation that was given for MTV3. I did much better.
While the OPIC office was established years ago, its presence was unknown from the farmers right up to the government. Mr. Pupita aims to change that.
When I joined, the industry was a institution that was tucked away from the public domain. When I saw that, I thought it was necessary for the institution to interact with government so that we get the necessary support to ensure the industry grows going forward with the government's policy of taking back PNG through agriculture.
With OPIC making known its presence and a vocal agriculture minister pushing the commodity agendas, OPIC was awarded 2 million kina from the Marape government's Price Support and Agriculture Intervention Program funds in 2021. This is Mr. Pupita in Kavieng last year inspecting the renovated OPIC office and staff housing. Funds from the intervention program were used for these projects.
In Kavieng, we had a big problem with staff housing being run down, and the administration office here where I'm standing. This was all run down, and it was into a near condemned situation. So I chipped in around about 450,000 to do a maintenance and a rehab on this building, as you can see. It's nicely done. The bricks here are additional work that I have done. I've also fenced the area.
We have seen big changes. We have started cleaning up the blocks with the support of the head office in Mosby through the national government, and I'm very appreciative with how this project is going, especially New Island project.
In Milne Bay, OPIC is reviving its base in Siasiada.
With no funding from government and increasing of prices, we've come to abandoning the station in 1998. I last served in this station before I was told to move out of the station with the staff, leaving back 2 houses, of which are now run down. With the new looks of OPIC management, we are looking at rehabilitating these houses again, maintaining them, and then eventually we'll station 2 officers back here.
I got to rehabilitate those houses because I spent a lot of money in building roads and rehabilitating blocks up there. We've spent almost around about 3 million around here, and I want to get the crop, and I want to increase production so that we bring in that most needed forex into this country, and also put some money into our local people so that their level of standard of living is increased, or we alleviate poverty to some extent.
Motorbikes were also purchased for the smaller project areas.
The officers were very hard hit with our old motorbikes, and we have to struggle to get parts to get the motorbikes running. And I'm very appreciative with through the national government. We have 2 new motorbikes that arrived, and I gave to my 2 officers. They're using it now. AG Yamaha 200. It's on the road now, so I'm very happy. My officers are happy.
The bikes are very, very important tool for extension services. A lot of commodity boards would prepare land cruisers or vehicles for that matter, but for me and OPIC, I would prefer motorbikes because they are cheap to operate and it can get you to nearly everywhere into the blocks, to access the blocks and also access the farmers. Extension farmers, extension officers are there to help assist our local farmers to produce and to produce to the expected standard.
The extension officer-farmer interaction was missing over the years, also contributing to loss of interest. It was therefore important to address staff welfare issues, work challenges that were hindering progress.
So extension service, every day, week in, week out, our extension officers must pay visit to the blocks and meet the farmers. And so with that connectivity and activity, we will maintain yields. We will continue to increase yields because new farming technologies and methods, together with the extension officer and farmer, through the interaction and action, will bring in new methodologies to continue to increase.
But while new roads and staff welfare is being looked at, blocks had to be rehabilitated. From the 2 million Kina intervention program, some funds were put into block rehabilitation. Youths in selected project sites were engaged to help clean blocks with supervision from extension officers.
Like previously, our blocks are all bushy and we cannot afford to produce more crop coming out. But as for now, our blocks are cleaned and now we can produce more crop coming out to the roadside.
All man all hamamas because most of the time all man harvesting all palm law bush.
It will really help the community. It will motivate them, especially like our young people today. They are involved in so many things, but when this kind of program came up, this contract was formed, and like when the information came down to us as local last villagers here, our boys, we begin to see that like they are happy to take part in this kind of program, so they all got involved.
The national government this year has included OPIC in its recurrent budget, allocating over 5 million kina.
OPIC will now be supported through the recurrent budget. Thanks again to Minister John Simon, thanks to Marawi government, thanks to the good treasurer, Honorable Ian Linstaki, for Treasury coming on board to support OPIC in 2022 under the recurrent budget. I know as I speak, my farmers and my project offices down the ground have been waiting for this for the last 30 years plus when oil palm was introduced.
OPIC has also rekindled its relationship with the Papua New Guinea Oil Palm Research Association to ensure findings from this important organization reaches smallholder farmers to help them produce more yield and generate more income for them. The road and infrastructure projects such as the 14-kilometer Saraclock Bridge in West New Britain and others will continue this year and onwards as OPIC strives to help smallholder farmers increase production.
Oil palm hectares, around about 30 to 35% of the planted palm oil is owned by us, the smallholders. So you see, if we increase our yields, that's 1.2 to 1.6 million. Is basically the bulk of the revenue is coming from the million companies' plantations, because they are doing 30 to 40. If we bring it halfway, midway, then that 1.2 to 1.6 million average export tendency we are getting will jump up to between 1.6 to 2 billion. We're going to make it happen. And going forward, that's my objective. The nitty-gritty of it is just best management practice.
Another important goal for Mr. Pupita in 2022 is to complete the OPIC Act. The Act will give OPIC regulatory powers and so will address the issues of deforestation through oil palm, cheap labor, low-quality oil for cheap price, and land exploitation, among others. New oil palm companies must also meet the roundtable on sustainable palm oil requirements and allow proper equity sharing for landowners.
So, the legislation is the way to creating that environment and creating that vehicle for development and creating that environment where a legislation that will run the next 50 years, next 100 years, next 200 years, that will cater for the interests of all parties. Yes, the government wants to collect a bit of levy and this and that, but we must have a sustainable development of the industry. And sustainability is the key.